Okay, we're doing a classic Rashi. It's like there is. I told you I use this set of Chumashim called Rashi Kipshuta, which is a terrific set. Highly recommended. But sometimes there's Rashi's squeeze this way, that way. It's a little, you don't see the Pshuta Shal Mikra, and this is like one of those Rashis. The Rebbe has a biur on the Rashi. In the someone's fixing the toilet.
Fancy.
By the way, I made a l'chaim yesterday on Shabbos.
Thank you.
No.
Okay. ואתה הפקד הסלבים על משכן העדס ועל כל כלב וכל השלוי הם ייסוס המשכן וכל כלב הם ישרצו בסבל המשכן יחד. This is the first time the Eibishter makes a very strong emphasis about separating the Levim, and that's why they were counted separately, and they should be in charge on all the work of the Mishkan Eidos, taking apart the Mishkan, put it together, traveling with it, so on. That was the job of the Levim.
What the rules about Kol Asherlo? You already hear it says Al Kol Kelo. Then they continue.
Here, I don't know. Maybe it's the Chotzer. L'doidus, they had a few more jobs besides carrying the Mishkan. Hema Yisus Mishkan, the Kol Kelo, the Hema Yisharsu, the Soviv the Mishkan Yachan. Ubensoya Mishkan Yedido Yisrael Levim. V'chanois Mishkan Yekimo Yisrael Levim. V'azor HaKor of Yumas. V'azor HaKor of Yumas. That if a person tries to be to do that right, the Levim, so it's punished. It's a terrible punishment.
The Mishkan was heavy.
Heavy,
of course.
Yeah, heavy, but I mean, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
wow! Thank you for joining us. Ooh, wow! Choshev Yidin. Okay, Max, come sit down right next to me here.
I'm scared.
So,
So close.
Sure.
Let's see her though.
whichever you like. Closer the better.
Closer the better. Very good.
Okay, so let's start reading it again. We'll just read quickly. You give the job to the Levim al Mishkan Ha'edus that they should be in charge of the Mishkan. When it travels, they take it apart. They put it together. Someone who's not a Levi gets close, it's punishable by death. Another thing is that the Eibishter said that there is flags. There's flags. Every shevet had a station where they should park themselves. 3 shvatim, right? 3 shvatim on each side, and each one had a flag, and that's where they have to be. You can't just, it's not a free for all. You can't go camping here, there, and everywhere. You pitch your tent with your shevet. And the Levim, they should be right around the Mishkan. The student, if this is all kept, there will not be anger. The Eibishter will not be angry. Eden did what they were told.
Machane Yisrael was for the Golem all around. Machane Leviah was also all around the Mishkan, or just on one side?
Saviv. The word Saviv.
David is all around,
3 sides.
on 3 sides, not on the middle.
Each dagger was different picture on different
Same
sign.
Same
Yeah,
thing.
you know the picture from the
They hadn't invented cameras by that
There's a
time.
story that I told that the Rebbe Marash said that there was a Kabbalah in the Altneu Shul that they had a flag, one of the Shvatim.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you
The
kidding?
Altneu Shul, they had a Kabbalah that they have a flag. They built the Altneu Shul, according to one of Talmidim Chacham Sofer, they built it based on how the Yidden were finding in the Golem. It's, if you look at the bima and everything, it's built mamish like the Golem were in the Mishkan. It's an unbelievable thing. And they believed that they had a degel, one of the Golem that they had. I mean, it's Apella. How would they get to Prague? A degel? What that? Okay. Okay.
How the flag is still survived 3,000 years?
Exactly. And then it's Apella.
Special cloth.
Basically.
Which close the head?
Yeah, exactly. No. The truth is,
That's it.
it
was not synthetic like
right, right. Rashi says, Im tasu kemitzvoisai lo yeh ketzer. Vim lav sheikon tzorem ba'avedosam zu yeh ketzer. If you will follow my rules, there will be no anger. If you don't follow the rules, there'll be plenty of anger. What is the rules? That the Zorim shouldn't go to the avodah. If you're not a Levi, you're not allowed to do the avodah. As we find in the story of Kairach, Yotza Ketzer, that these guys did the wrong thing. They brought the Ketores, and there was anger from the Eibishter, and they got killed. I mean, what's Rashi saying? I mean, what is Rashi saying? What is Rashi saying? It's like the Sifsei Chachamim says, Yesh makshim hakol ha'Torah in nemra kolos meklala ha hein at Shemei malav tavla v'shmei. Rashi mentions it many times. It's not the first time. When Torah, Rashi says many times, when the Eibusha says, do it, it'll be good. If you won't do it, it'll be bad. If you won't do it, it'll be bad. If you'll do it, it'll be good. Rashi said it many times already. That b'chol ha'Torah kula mechlal halav at Shemei hein v'chal hein at Shemei alav. What's Rashi is like funny here? B'yishlam the Rashi will farish shloi nitaloy madodik ksiv lo yeketzer the koyed samach loy. Hey, v'chonu b'nei Yisrael v'alavim yachenu v'chein pirushim tasem loy tas koy avodas mishkem prikutina v'akamos v'kamosh metzinu gabe koyrech. That you should know that the anger from Hashem, you might read that the anger is if they're not resting in the right places. So saying no, the anger of Hashem would only be if a Yisrael does the avodah of a Levi. The Levi have to take apart the Mishkan, pick it up. If a regular guy comes and says, "Oh, it's a little heavy, let me help you," that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. Okay. If that's really what Rashi is trying to do, if that's really what Rashi just has to say 3 words. Ketzev, sheikon tzorem ba'avodah zu.
Rashi already explained what ketzer.
And Bachlal, what the Rebbe says, it's a very funny takapella. What is it? What's the raya we're learning from Ma'aseh Koirach? And that we're learning a raya that the Eibishter keeps his word. It says over here, the Eibishter says you shouldn't do monkey business.
The Torah start with the negative. Below it.
Don't. What happened by Koirach is a very different story. Over there was Levim that were doing the avodah of Kohanim. Here the Torah says that Yisraelim shouldn't do the avodah of Levim. It's not even the same thing.
Right.
And what's it actually trying to say? That you should know. Don't start up with the Rabban Shalom. If God says, don't touch. If God says, don't eat. What is Rashi saying? Obviously, if the Eibishter says do something, you do it. If you do it, it'll be good. If the Eibishter says don't do it. What kind of raya did we bring over here from Koirach? It's like the Sifsei Chachamim says, he says, Pirush mishum pirush delil shepirush yumas b'dei shamayim. It says yumas. Usually yumas means that a human being will kill him, and that's what Rashi says mishpat gamba all of yumas. That the word yumas means b'dei adam. So Rashi over here says yumas means b'dei shamayim. How do we know it? From the story of Koirach. So the emphasis that all the Mefarshim have accomplished. How do we learn it from the story of Koirach? So
what Rashi had a question that he came to ask. Rashi doesn't the Islam say. Right?
I think what's bothering Rashi? Exactly. What's bothering Rashi here? Devak Tov says it's coming to tell us what the punishment is. It's like a very, very shver Rashi. Bottom line is, why does Rashi say this whole long thing? First of all, what does it mean mitzvah say? What's mitzvah? Which mitzvahs are we talking about? Im tasuk mitzvah say lo yeketz. Vim lav yeketz. What's this double lashon? And what does it actually say? And what does he bring a raya from Ma'aseh Koirach? What's going on over here? What's all Rashi talking about? The Rebbe says, push it like this. Child that's learning about Chumash L'Mikra, and this is truly marvelous to see the way Rashi, the Rebbe learns the Rashi, that it's a child that's but the rational, and every word in the pasuk makes sense, and he's reading carefully. He's not missing things out. So we said like this: B'nsoya Mishkan, that the Levim are the ones that are in charge. No one dear, even the Kohanim are not allowed to. The Levim are the ones that take the Mishkan down, they pick it up, they carry it. Azor, Akorav, Yumas. Okay. Then a new thing, that there has to be camps. 3 Shvatim on the right, 3 on the left, Tzaf and Dar, Mizrach Ma'ariv. Okay. Don't go to somewhere else. V'Levim yachnu sav l'Mishkan ha'edus. V'lo yeketzav al adas b'nei Yisrael. So, and what's v'lo yeketzav going on? On the one hand, you would like to say that it's going on the Levim because it's talking about the Levim, right? But it should have said, in the one hand, it says v'lo yeketzav al adas b'nei Yisrael. So those words belong before. It should have said v'chona b'nei Yisrael ishal machlim v'ishal digloi. Or you should say V'Lavim Yachnu Sav Mishkan V'lo Yeketzav Al Halavim. What's going on over here? That we said that the Yidden, first we said the Yidden should camp around the Mishkan. The Levim, they're like the camp here.
How many positions in total?
There was 12 tribes. Each one had their flag. Each one had their position.
So 12 in total.
And then you had the Levim right around the Mishkan. Very good.
So it's 24 in total.
No, 12.
But in the temple, we had 24 positions.
That was 24.
Something different.
Rabbi Ina was not given a position.
So now, what happens? That the pasuk says a new thing at the end. So what's going on? So Rashi says like this. There's two things that we're talking about here. And one is that the Levim have a job to carry the Mishkan. No one's allowed to help them out. But there's another thing that in the Parsha says that the Eibishter separated the Levim from the Yisraelim and the Kohanim from the Levim. And there's a very clear divide. And the Eibishter wants that in order to secure that we're never going to come to a mistake that the Yisraelim are going to start doing the job of the Levim, so he made that you guys camp out here, the Levim camp here. So you remember always that you belong here, the Levim here, so you won't make that mistake of trying to help out the Levim, because you camp out here, the Levim here. So it goes into you that you belong here and the Levim belong here. So that's what Rashi is saying. Rashi is saying, if you do my mitzvah, the mitzvah, there is this mitzvah that there has to be a halva, a separate parking place, a separate place for camping for the Yisraelim and for the Levim. If you're going to do my mitzvah, lo yeketzav, there won't be anger, it'll be everything good. Vimlav. You know what's going to happen? Then there's going to be a tishtush and a bilbul. If you're not going to do my mitzvah, there's one mitzvah geredet mitzvah, and aveda geredet aveda. You're not going to park the right way, and you're going to start helping the Levim. Let me help you. You're carrying a beam. It's heavy. Let me help you out. And then there's going to be a ketzer. And that's what Rashi is trying to say. And that's why the Rebbe says that diuk nifla in the words in the ketzer is anger. In Rashi, in the pasuk it says singular, vazor hakorev yumas. Why is Rashi saying vimlav sheyikonsu zorim? Number one, it's lashon rabim, and number two, yikonsu, not zor. He could have used the vimlav sheyikrev hazor ba'avodah zu. Because in the pasuk before, when talk Zora Korev humans, it's talking about he's going to the avodah in the Mishkan. So the Hakorev, he's coming close to the avodah, and even a Yochid, that if he's coming close, you must. But then there's a mitzvah that the Yidden have to camp here, and that they have to camp all around, and the Levim. What happens if one Yisraeli decides, I love to live with the Levim? I love it. My camping space here is very boring. I want to camp right here. So it's not going to break the machanas. One guy doing it doesn't break the machanas. So he's taka abisal meshiga, and he's doing the wrong thing, but that's not going to break the whole system. A breakdown of the system is if 25 families from Reuven So you know what? We want to live with the Levium. So therefore, when Rashi's talking about the mitzvah of keeping the camps, that Reuven stays with Reuven and Yehuda stays Yehuda and Yisachar stays Yisachar and Zvulun, they don't. So over there, you can't say singular. You have to say plural. V'imlavshi konsu zorim ba'aveidosam zu. That the Zorim are going to go in, that because if one person just pitches his tent by the Levium, it's not going to do anything.
What's the halacha לשבטים? Reuven allowed to live by Shimon?
No, not allowed.
Each
Not
one
allowed.
to live by any shevet.
Everyone has to do their own.
By the way,
But here we're saying that Rashi is saying in Lav that when is it going to go out of hand that you're being mevatel the mechitzas when you konsu zorim, a lot of people. If one guy does it, so if he's doing that void, the one guy that helps a lady pick up a beam is yumas. Because he's that, but this thing that they're breaking the havdalah where you have to camp, if one guy is just going to do it, that's not going to make a difference.
let's say,
But
for
you
cure-
can't on him.
let's say for cure purposes. Another,
No, you can go there. You can go there, make l'chaim.
That could go.
But by night, he's got to go back to his tent, to his place.
Just out of curiosity, this mitzvah only was in the 40
This
years,
is only the
40 years.
This is
in
the only
Bamidbar,
that
not in
Yeah. Yeah,
But why the Torah calling them Zarim and not Israelim?
because
Zarim is a strong word.
right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
even a goy can.
Who lives there? Israelim, Kohanim, and Leviim.
And what about the goyim?
במתן סיני.
The goyim came to visit the
במתן סיני.
Jews.
בכל הזר הכהן.
You must
They
right.
didn't do this in the time of King David before the temple.
This was in the 40 years.
After in King
Yeah.
David's time, they switched.
No, that this was only in the 40 years. They didn't were in the desert.
Yeah, they had everybody.
What's the story with Koidach? Koidach, the problem with Koidach was, why is he bringing Koidach? Koidach didn't like this division. That he said,
He wanted equality, equality plus
he
equality.
did.
oh, Tazai.
He didn't like
That's what he wanted, right? He wanted equality. Why are we not? That's what they're saying today.
Yeah.
Everybody's equal. Dogs is a cat, and a man can marry a dog.
Yeah, there's no
Girls and
division
girls,
between.
boys and boys.
Oh,
and,
Tazai.
oh, you're racist. You're
Oh, Tazai. You got it.
That's what they're saying. It's an argument.
Exactly the same argument. So- huh?
They ask you at Google if you're a man, a female, or
I prefer not to say.
binary, or
Yeah, Shingavan.
or we prefer not to say. Just for the point of it, I'm putting on not this. I don't know what I.
We should put
So
immigrants, we
this
get all
is the
benefits.
Indian that Koirach. Koirach doesn't like this Havdalah. Call them Kedoshim. On one hand, the Ketzef was right away. On the other hand, we see that Lepoil Mamish, the punishment only came when the Makriv Aktoides, the 250 guys did the Aktoides, and next day, when the Eden complained, they said, Atam Hamitem et Am Hashem. Again, there was a negative, 24,000 people died. So this is what Rashi is trying to say is like this. Emes says the Eibishter wants that there should be a Havdalah. Eden should live here, and the Levim should live here, so they don't get mixed up. The Ketzef is not going to. Well, why did the Eibishter want that? Because this way they don't get confused, and they're going to think they can help the Levim. The Poel Mamish, the Ketzef, the punishment only comes when the Poel Mamish they're going to help. Just like by Koirach. When they were talking and talking and talking, it didn't make any difference. As long as they were talking, it doesn't matter talking.
Action.
But as soon as they took the Ketores at 250 men, or as soon as the next day they made a Taluna against Moshe and Aaron, they said, Atam Amitam Am Hashem, that's when the Ketzef came out. Same thing here.
What happened in Korach? It was from which tribe they were trying to?
They got all the Jews riled up.
The tribe of Levi was trying to
They
do
got
the job of the Kohen.
From Reuven, they got all the Jews, they got riled up.
It's not the whole tribe. It's just his tribe.
It's just the extremists.
Kohen can help Levi? The Mishkan?
No.
He's not a Zar.
That's
Can a
not-
Levi do any avodah of a Kohen if there's no Kohen available?
Nope.
No, Moshe.
So
Why Bechol? Yes.
Can a Kohen do the
Kohen can.
avodah of a Levi?
He got laws.
I thought the Bechorim could call it beings.
He can't. No way. Before
Because the
before
only
they were
training-
picked, the Levim
the
were fighting
training
job.
jobs.
Not now. Not as Manazeh.
Then the Kohanim took over.
So that's a short of Pshat and Rashi. The Rebbe says from here is a nice thing that we learn from here. Sometimes people, the people say they talk. Until the Poel Mamish can't. The Rashi saying,
You can't prosecute until they do the action.
yeah, Exactly.
He talked about Menachem Begin.
Yeah, if the people are
Like
talking,
Begin,
people.
like you say,
Because they
but
have,
bottom
in
line
some
is,
movies,
when
they
he
want to
came to Camp
prosecute
David,
you
he
for
was
what you could
screaming
do in the
in
future.
front of the public, we're not gonna give up our land, and we came to Camp David.
Innocent until proven guilty.
Since we're already talking about healthy boundaries, I want to share a beautiful nakuda beautiful nakuda from Chassidus, from a maimah from the Rebbe that I shared on Peter Shamidlis in the Tefillah. It's in the Tefillah. It's Mefarshim say that it's a pella. It says, "Baruch Hashem, Boini Yerushalayim." Boini is current. The Eibush is right now building Yerushalayim. But now we see cranes all over Yerushalayim building. But for 2,000 years, we didn't see that building Yerushalayim. So Mefarshim say a beautiful answer. Mefarshim say that it says when Mashiach is going to come, Ani eya choymas eish savev lo Hashem. I'm going to be a choym of eish. Where's the eish going to come from? Anytime a yid does now a mitzvah with excitement, with islavus, the fire goes up in heaven. The Eibush saves that fire, and when Mashiach is going to come, he's going to take that whole fire and put it around Yerushalayim. So therefore, right now we're building Yerushalayim.
Wow.
Nice.
So Chassidus says like this: that on the one hand, what's going to be when Mashiach comes? Are we having a gate? We're not having a gate. On the one hand, we're saying Prozes Teis of Yerushalayim, that we want Yerushalayim to be. We don't have any more enemies. Why do we need walls? On the other hand, the Eibush says that there's going to be a chayma, but there's going to be a chaymas eish. So on the one hand, we do need walls around Yerushalayim, and on the other hand, we say, nah, don't worry, Prozes Teis.
Yeah.
We're gonna spread it out.
Abba, I think you understand, because the walls represent a vessel to hold Hashem's light, no?
Yeah, but so do we need a wall or not need a wall? So we said we need a wall, but it's gonna be in fire.
Well,
Yeah, so
obviously made by
yeah.
understanding.
Like that, then I go.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Leviim and the Kayanim. And
Well, why do we need
so
fire? Well, that's
have
the
to have
question.
physical boundaries.
Secure world, why do we need a fire?
Yeah, but
What is the fire?
The basically, usually everybody
You have
will
to
see
be like in the
each other,
Verizon,
stay away from
control,
each other.
what's going on?
Ever, as I just learned, I'm learning through this.
And who's gonna be in
Every
charge of the
parsha
fire?
it talks about the Kayanim, how much
About
they
the
need to stay away from Tuma, and how it works. So, like, I never went into detail, but
Okay. So now we just hear
the
about a
whole
beautiful
order.
shot from the Rebbe on this. So that the Rebbe says like this: why do we need sometimes boundaries, healthy boundaries? Very important sometimes. Like Kodesh doesn't understand. But in Judaism, there's a lot of times very strong boundaries. And we say these boundaries are very healthy and very good. Why do we need a gate around the city? We need a gate around the city for two reasons. One is we don't want the enemies to go in. Also, a lot of times when they used to build a gate, like the 48 cities for the Levium, they wanted that the city shouldn't just keep on sprawling forever. There's a gate, it goes till here, and that's it. You want next time, exactly. You want make another city there, build another city there. So the same thing in Kedusha. There is sometimes the enemy could get into Yerushalayim. What is Yerushalayim? Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, and the enemy takes a hold of. How does the enemy take hold of a Yerushalayim? So you know the story that the Rebbe Yitzchak Beditchever, that he's not coming to shul, and they're waiting for him Mashmini Atzeres, and they go to his house, and he's pacing back and forth. He's upset. And finally, he says, "Bistu a tzaddik, bistu a rebbe, bistu a lamden, geh du zog ataroisa." You're a tzaddik, you're a rebbe, you're a lamden, you go say ataroisa.
Who said that?
The Rebbe Yitzchak. So eventually he came to shul, and he explained to his talmidim. He was about to leave his house to go to shul, and the Yetzer Hara came along and said, "I'm coming with you." He said, "What, you? Well, who are you?" "I learned Torah the whole year. I go to celebrate. Who are you?" He said, "I'm with you." Okay, but I'm a rebbe from my chassidim. I'm a rebbe with you. So, and I tried to get rid of him. I can't shake him. I couldn't shake him. Finally, I said, "Listen, bist du alam, bist du a rebbe, bist du a tzaddik? Geh du sogar teres. I'm not going. You go. You go yourself. I'm not going. You go. I'm staying home."
English, what is that in English?
He said to the Yetzer Hara, if you feel you're so clever, and you learned with me, and you're a Rebbe with me, so you go say the Atarais. I'm staying
I'm
home.
staying.
I'm staying here. I'm not going. So it's not.
very convincing.
It's not so easy. It's maybe the Lev Yitzchak has an easier time pacing back and forth until he shakes that guy off. But there is that thing that the enemy could get into our Yerushalayim, could get hold of it. Then there is,
This was a person, or this was just a dream, or just a story?
it's a story. The Lev Yitzchak, he was
It was a real.
He was a real thing. He was a real guy,
Uh-huh.
and he really had a real Yetzer Hara, and maybe not as egregious a Yetzer Hara as me and you, but he
So
really didn't like
it was
this guy.
just like
And
it was just somebody else disguised as Yitzhak.
no, his own.
Oh.
His Yetzer Hara was telling him, "Look, I'm with you." When
So
I'm,
why
when
doesn't
you,
he just say Tehillim 91 and do the
that was his way.
exorcism?
That was his way of doing
You
it.
need a minion of 10.
He knew how to shake off his Yetzer Hara this way. So there's a medrash. There's a beautiful medrash. I told it. So there's a medrash that says, there's a medrash in the Medrash Rabbah, that there was a Rabbi Shmuel, an Amoyre, that he came to Rome because he was sent to help the Jews. And the day he comes there, it was early in the morning, and he sees in the road, he sees he sees jewelry, puts it in his pocket. And later in the day, he hears they announce that the queen lost her jewelry. And anyone that finds it will come to the palace and get reward. After 30 days, anyone that's caught with it will be killed. Shmuel waits, day 1, day 10, day 20, day 30. Day 31. Can you imagine? Day 31, he goes to shul, 1,000 dome, he davens, he has a little bit of kichel and herring afterwards. He goes to the palace. Medrash didn't say about the kichel and herring. I made that up. So he goes to the palace.
Hummus and pita in Eretz Israel.
Could be it was hummus and pita. So he comes to the palace and he says he wants to see the queen, and he shows her the jewelry. It was taka. It was her jewelry. She says, "Did you only find it now?" He said, "No, I found it 31 days ago." She says, "What a shame! You lost your prize, and now you and so he said, yeah, if I gave it to you earlier, then I would get a prize. But the Torah says that it's a godly command to give the to Hashavas Avodah. And right. So if I gave it to you yesterday, it would be for the scare of being punished or for the reward. I don't want that. I wanted to give you your jewelry back as the mitzvah, the godly command. Hashem commanded us.
She's a boy and he's a Jew, so there's no mitzvah to return stolen things.
I don't know. Who says?
Only if you can make a Kiddush Hashem, then you can.
He made a massive Kiddush Hashem. The Medrash says that he made such an unbelievable impression that whatever his shlichus was to go to Rome for was successful. That's what the Medrash says. This is a Medrash. So we see that there's sometimes that there is the enemies that try to get into our Yerushalayim, and we gotta rebuff them. We gotta make a wall. Sometimes it's the opposite, that we slide out of Yerushalayim. We had a good davening, and then with the same chayas of davening, we're having breakfast with the same chayas. But it's like we slide them out. It's like, or we feel good about ourselves and we pat ourselves a little extra on the shoulders. So b'shas we did the mitzvah, we did it fine, but afterwards we slip out of Yerushalayim. It happened.
Yes.
So that's why there is Chazal say Torah, that this makes these boundaries. The mitzvah say and the mitzvah loita say, the things that are boundaries that loita say doesn't allow the enemy in, the mitzvah say doesn't allow us to slip out. That there are certain boundaries that we make that the Yetzer Hara can't get into the city, and we don't go sliding out of the city. But what happens when Mashiach comes? Mashiach comes, there will be no enemies. Why do you have to build a wall if there'll be no enemies? Now we need an iron dome. Why do we need? Because we have Rahman al-Islam enemies that want to get rid of the Eden.
Very hard.
They're working overtime, these guys. So we need to have protection. We need to have an iron dome. But when Mashiach will come, there'll be no enemies. So why do we need to have a wall? So that must talk that we don't need to have a wall. But we need to have a different type of wall. There is two types of gvura, says Siddur. There is one gvura, which is a regular gvura, which is to make healthy boundaries and limitations. Healthy boundaries and limitations. There is another type of gvura. What's the other type of gvura? Even if you're someone's very good friend, it doesn't mean that you're giving them all that you have. It doesn't mean that you're going to share with them a very important secret that you're carrying with you. If you want to share a very important experience that you had once in your life, you have to have an unbelievable. Sometimes you're scared to share it. Why? Because you don't want it to be manipulated. You don't want people to know about it. It's a secret, right? So sometimes you have that extra guts to share it, and that comes from gvura. It comes from a place of extra confidence that you're not scared you'll be hurt. You're not scared to share with a friend this very important secret that's on your mind.
You won the lottery or something.
I don't know. That's not a very important secret.
Yeah.
There's other things. Yeah. So what happens that sometimes gevura could come from a place of weakness. But a person has to know their weakness. That they have to make healthy boundaries, and certain boundaries are important. But sometimes it comes from a certain weakness because there's enemies that could come into the city. We have to make boundaries. But then there is a certain gevura that comes, not the regular gevura, the gevura the atik, which is gevura's kshamim, the extra special gevura to geboides achayis, that I could strengthen myself to do more than regular I could do. So the old appointments of Yerushalayim were made out of stones. That was because we're scared that the enemies will come into Yerushalayim, or maybe we're going to slip out of Yerushalayim. But Mashiach is going to come. We don't have that fear anymore. That fear is not here anymore. So why do we have to? We need a different type of choimas eish, a certain eish de kedusha, which is tegboides achayis. There's still a concept of a gate around Yerushalayim. The kedusha of Yerushalayim is makefas chaim. There's a certain thing to it, but it's a different type of gate now. It's not the when before Mashiach comes. There's a gate around Yerushalayim. It's a choimas even, which is a regular type of Buddha. We need to have boundaries because it's dangerous. We could slip out. The enemy could come in. They're coming a little bit from a point of weakness. Well, we need it, but it's a healthy boundary, but it's still. But when Mashiach is going to come, we're going to have that unbelievable power. It's going to be a different type of Gvura. That Gvura, the Choimas Eish. That Choimas Eish is an unbelievable thing. So, okay. Eibusher should help that the schus of now that we're doing. There's everything that Alter Rebbe says that when Mashiach will comes from our avodah now. So it's now we're doing Gvuras. Sometimes, like we said before, and today in the secular world, the idea of limitation is gone. It's gone. Now they wonder how come parents are wondering how come their son comes home and tells them they want to become a daughter. So the answer is because there's no rules in the house. There's no rules in the house. There's zero rules. Whatever the kid wants, they could do. You want to go sleep 12 o'clock at night? This is what you want to read? This is what you want to do? But the nature of the kid is that they want to break some type of boundary. There's no boundaries left to break. Whatever the school says they're wrong, the kid is right. Everything. There's no boundaries to break. So what's left to break? So the son comes home and he says, Shalom Aleichem, I don't want to be your son, I want to be your daughter. There's nothing left because there was no other. The truth is that in the story of Korach we learned that there is a certain Gevuras the Kedusha which separates. This is where the Kohanim reside, and this is where the Leviim reside, and this is where the Yisraelim, and this is a protection that the Yisrael doesn't think, he could start helping out the Levi. I'm just helping him. It's heavy. I'm helping him. Doesn't work that way. The Eibishter gives a job for the Kohen and a job for the Levi, and there's a job for Yisrael. There's a job for men. There's a job for women. There's a job in Avodas Hashem for everyone. And in certain things, you can't say, I'm going to switch, I'm going to do the other guy's job. You can't.
Equal rights.
It doesn't work that way.
You're gonna put them out of work.
You can't do that. You can't do that. So there is a certain thing of Gvura de Kedusha, which is healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries, as we see today in our world, that the lack of healthy boundaries is causing an unbelievable breakdown in society. It's terrible.
Can you give another example?
Huh?
Today, another example.
Oh, this is a pretty bad one.
Mhm.
This is a pretty bad one.
If I put it this way, it starts with
The southern border,
Oh, what?
Equal.
the border in the south.
Ah, the border in the south.
It's open, there's no border. There's no border.
L'chaim.
I
So-
know.
The water, all in Mexico.
The border of Mexico. So l'chaim. So the Eibusha Halkan in the Alter.
Yeah.
So yeah, you hear? We don't need them to build the wall in the south. We need to build 4 walls and a thing in the basement of Chamendel, a new building. Send them
Ah!
over here.
Well, I wrote a letter for you today.
Yeah, they should process.
Yeah.
Keep them building. They should start and build and build and build.
Put some iron with this.
Okay.
Just before I wrote a letter on behalf.
You said something very silly.
So I guess the Choy Maseish is going to move around. I guess the Choy Maseish.
If the whole world is Eretz Yisrael and all Eretz Yisrael is Yerushalayim.
No, the Choy Maseish around Yerushalayim.
So Beis Hamikdash is gonna be all you aligned.
So do we, let me ask you, something. Who owns the, I was reading, they had a few years ago, the Greek Orthodox Church, they're owning massive properties in Israel from 1800s and 1900s, so they're owning the property, and they were selling it, so they sold it to some Jews, and the Arab Greek Orthodox people, they're Christian, but they're Arab Christians, they got very upset. So as an example, who actually, they're having this guy, they send this guy, big guy, I don't know his name, but he was all over YouTube and all over. They gave him a piece of property in the Arab area, in Jerusalem, on the outskirts, and the Arabs are going crazy. And they have an organization to take that.
Teret Kohanim, they buy properties.
That was the guy, yeah.
They go in and they make quiet deals because these Arabs, when they sell a property to a Jew, they can get killed. So
They got, yeah. So I like this organization a lot. My question is, so who actually owns this property? Is it what are we following the Dean of Israel, or how does it go? Is it belonging to us? And
I don't know. You have to ask next time.
What was the Rebbe thing saying?
The Rebbe had an opinion about it. Probably he said it was a good thing. Jews should live every part.
So you take it back, then they're going to start, throwing rocks, and it could be a life risk. So how defend it?
I'll tell you what. It's hard. It's a complicated question. On the one hand, the Rebbe gave a lot of support to every Jew that just yeah. But still, when there were several requests that the Rebbe should establish a Chabad community. This was years ago when things were so safe, and the Rebbe said no. He said, I don't trust what's going to be in the future. Mitzvah the Israeli government protecting whatever. It's an interesting thing.
This was before 67 or after?
No, after 60, right after 67. There were requests for the Rebbe they should make a Chabad somewhere in Yehuda and Shomron. Yeah, like a Chabad in Yehuda and Shomron. He said no.
Because he didn't trust the government?
Yeah. But on the other hand,
he didn't trust any government or that government?
No, I'm just telling you a story, a fact. And the other hand, any Jew that ever asked the Rebbe bracha and they already went. It's machatzik them in a very strong way.
Arik Sharon was in a Chilix and the Rebbe told the Rebbe, I want UFO told your Hasidim to move to Gaza, when they gave back to what is it called? Gush Katif. So the Rebbe told him, I don't want to send people that in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're going to give it back.
Wow.
Now Gaza is there.
All the rocket that come to Israel.
Gush Katif is by Gaza.
You need the rocket.
10 years ago is what Eric Sharon never.
Yeah.
There was like the
This happened like 15 or 20 years ago, right?
Realize.
We just see what we see. 20 years. No. But more recently,
What's gonna happen after, like,
There
maybe it's part of the process.
was also another thing that happened. That people had to leave their homes. Happened about 20 years.
Haven't seen all.
I mean, it was not
You
like.
can only see up to
Dig down.
now, up to now, we're saying it's not so.
40 years ago, I don't remember. I would have been 6. But I remember there's something more recent about like 20 years ago.
Tough job.
Okay.
And it's, no, it's just like, what about other parts of Israel? Like, I mean, I guess
But something more recent.
disputed areas, no problem, but like disputed
You heard the
areas.
story. You heard what